Thanks for tuning in and watching this episode of Sermon and a Song. Don't forget to click subscribe. And if you're interested in joining us in person at Christ Episcopal Church, our services are at 8:30 and 10:30 inside this magnificent building each and every Sunday. May God bless you, and thank you for sharing this time with us. In 1987, when I was 20 years old, I moved to New York City. I got a job, the job of my dreams, at a book publishing company as an assistant. I was making $13,500 in 1987, and I had no idea what I was doing, absolutely none. Some nights my life looked quite glamorous. I would be invited to book launch parties across the city at fancy restaurants with celebrities and authors, editors, and all the people that I admired. Other nights, I was eating Kraft macaroni and cheese out of a box and watching my black and white television set. I was taking a writing class at the West Side Y, but I was also spending lots of times in coffee shops and in bars, or just walking around the West and East villages. Was I on the path to success? Was I preparing to be a famous editor or a writer? Someday would I have a penthouse? I knew I was starting my adult life, but I had no idea where I was going. Back then, the person who really embodied what success looked like was Malcolm Forbes. He owned Forbes magazine. He was smart and funny, insightful. He rode a motorcycle all around town, and in New Jersey, he rode hot air balloons. And he famously said, "He who dies with the most toys wins." I was 20 years old. I had about $100 in the bank and shared an apartment in the Bronx with several other people starting out. I didn't have any toys, and success, or even a definition of it, seemed pretty far off. In today's gospel, Peter has just recognized Jesus as the Messiah, the Christ. Peter is the first disciple to say those words out loud. And while Peter may have known that Jesus was the Messiah, he had no idea what being the Messiah actually meant. Everything that Jesus tells him about what it means to be God's chosen is antithetical to Peter's definition of success. Perhaps Peter had imagined that being the Messiah would mean that Jesus will become powerful in religious circles, even in political circles, perhaps even make him a king. If any of that came true, the disciples could have expected to have important titles, or at least comfortable, influential lives. Instead, Jesus tells them, if any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it. This two-sentence description of being a follower of Christ deserves more than a sermon on the Labor Day weekend. But here goes. Jesus is saying that if we want to follow him, we will have to change our notion of what success means. Because no matter how much money you have, no matter how many toys you collect, they can never make you happy. They will not bring you love. They cannot protect you from death or misfortune. And ultimately, they will never bring you closer to God. As St. Francis said, it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. Christian values aren't a list of what to do or not do. Christian values are meant to be the treasure map to where Christians will find meaning and purpose, comfort, hope, faith. But the map that Jesus gives us doesn't seem quite logical. Give away what you have. Embrace the things that seem most difficult. Follow in Jesus' steps, even when it puts you at odds with the rest of the world. Take the challenging path. Never be distracted by shiny things and easy comfort. Christian Winans, in his book about Malcolm Forbes, tells of a motorcycle trip that Forbes took through Egypt in 1984 with his motorcycle team, which was called Capitalist Tool. After viewing the staggering burial tomb of King Tut, Forbes seemed to be in a particularly reflective mood. As they were returning to the hotel in a shuttle bus, Forbes turned to one of his friends and asked with all sincerity, "Do you think I'll be remembered after I die?" That was the height of his power in the 1980s. But he knew on some level that his priorities, his passion, his energy, his talent was not spent on others, but on himself. And no one will remember that, at least for very long. Because if your energy has been spent making your own life better, then when you die, your work is over. We are meant for a greater life. We were created for a larger purpose. But our greatness is not revealed in our possessions, but in our generosity. Not in our talents, but in the gifts that we choose to share. Not in our personal ambitions, but in our dreams for others. The cross is the symbol of our faith because it is a reminder that we are loved beyond our wildest dreams, but that love is precious and has a cost. When we experience love like that, we must share it. When there is a cost, we must bear it. Because the gift that we give will always be the blessing that God prepares for us. So be a success in every important and life-giving way. And share your toys. Share your achievements. Share the glory you've been given in this world. Because those are things that we can't take with us. Christians understand that the world keeps score in a very different way than the kingdom of heaven. And we must remember that our purpose on earth is to serve God and love one another because we were loved by God and served in this way ourselves. Amen.